So has everybody else. But we've been very hard on the Giants, and they responded yesterday. They played hard, and they were able to pull out a game. Now, do I think they got a couple of? Well, I'll tell you the break they got yesterday. Kansas City wasn't prepared for the wind. They really weren't. And the wind got into Alex Smith's head because Alex Smith doesn't throw a ball and doesn't throw the velocity needed to get the ball through the wind. And when he threw the ball, it floated, and he got very intimidated by throwing the ball, and that's why he didn't feel comfortable throwing the ball into the end zone at the end of the game, which he should have done, especially with the size he had at tight end. I thought for sure he's got to throw the ball in there. Throw the ball to Kelsey a couple times, he's going to catch one of them or get a flag. I mean, there's no question about it. I really thought, listen, that was a good drive. Considering the issues of the game, that was a good drive, and I thought they really botched it, not getting the ball in the end zone. And then I actually thought there was a point where Andy was going to be very happy getting a tie, considering where he was 6-3, 6-3-1. He could have lived with. Now he's still okay in his division because everyone else in the division is playing badly. Actually, like the Chargers might have the best chance, believe it or not, of yesterday's win, and the fact they got a game they can win on Thanksgiving Day against the Cowboys. They might be the team right now because the Broncos are gone and the Raiders are, falling fast after their demolishment yesterday at the hands of the Pats. But give the Giants credit; their defense played with some bounce. Eli did a good job in that wind. That he didn't throw any interceptions. He must have had 3 or 4 drops. The one ball Eli threw inaccurately was a screen pass that would have been a touchdown. That was his fault. Everything else was the receiver's fault the rest of the day, and that was a very good last play. He's just getting the ball close, considering the win there, and that's what I talk about. Playing in that kind of condition is brutal. I mean, absolutely brutal for a thrower. And but they get a chance and get a win, a good win for the Giants. Hey, what does it mean? In the long run, it just gets the dogs away for a week. That's all. And it gives them some spirit to build on to go play and see if they can win another game and then get 11 days off. That's what they're trying to do. So, why? Because 3-8 is a heck of a lot better than 1-8. That's why. That's exactly why. So they're trying to get a win this week, and they're definitely capable of beating the Redskins on Thanksgiving night, as we know. But they're going to have to play well to do it. And you hope Shepard's healthy because they need another receiver because Washington's going to score some points, and they really need another receiver here. Although the kids did step up yesterday and do a decent job. So from that standpoint, they did. Give them some credit there. And again, a good win for the Giants yesterday. Now, is it going to change everything? No. I mean, it's just not. I mean, we'll see what happens. There's going to have to be a whole lot of winning in the last couple of weeks to change anything, but it's a step in the right direction. That's all. You know what it does? It just gets everybody off their back for a week. That's exactly what it does, and nothing more. Now, Freeli, I'm sure he's just thrilled to get a W and get ready to go play Thursday night, as they will. One of the 3 games. You have Seattle and Atlanta tonight, and then the 3 games, Minnesota, Detroit, which is a big game in game 1. The Chargers and the quickly fading Cowboys, who I told you I did not think would be close yesterday with considering the injuries against the Eagles. I was surprised at the half how bad the Eagles were, and then they came out and just destroyed them in the second half. And then the Redskins hosting the Giants in game number 3 on Thanksgiving. Those are your 3 Thanksgiving games. And the Chargers, I mean, how bad a decision. The young head coach has done a good job all year up there. He made a nightmarish decision. Boy, can you remember a coach ever making a worse decision than to change quarterbacks, have the guy throw 5 picks in the first half? Boy, that is brutal. That is just brutal. That is just absolutely brutal. So, hey, I know fans are going to say, oh, I wanted that draft pick. Oh, who cares if they won? You know what? They care. They put a lot of effort into these games for the most part. Now, some of the defensive guys hadn't been. Yesterday they did. They acted like professionals. But for these guys, winning the game makes all the difference. All the difference. So you got to understand that it's their job to try to win the game. And they feel a lot better about themselves than they did on Friday. And if they ever win on Thursday night, they'll feel a lot better about themselves than they did a week ago. That's why they care. Jerry and Roy, what's up, Jerry?
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, what interests me was a lot of no-shows. The real true Giant fans, they should have been there. They missed a good game. But that wind is always a factor. I'll tell you what's going to be interesting in the NFL is the Saints. I mean, if the Saints can get a home game in the playoffs and the Eagles have to maybe the Eagles are going to get that home field. But I think what's going to be interesting is the NFC with Drew Brees. He's an MVP Super Bowl winning quarterback. And they pulled out a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, they were very fortunate to win that game yesterday. They didn't play very well in the game. I mean, the Redskins should have won that game yesterday. But they did win it. That's all there is to it. And we'll see about the Saints. I want to see the Saints against better teams. They have won 8 games in a row. I'm not taking anything away from them. But they haven't played a whole lot of really good teams in that time. So I want to see them. Against a couple of good teams. And then we'll see. I want to see him against Atlanta. I want to see him in the next couple of weeks. I want to see him against some better teams. I get a better idea. But Minnesota's win over the Rams was big. Very big. I thought Minnesota played very well, very impressively. And right now, the Saints and Minnesota and the Eagles are the 3 teams in the NFC. Packers are gone without their quarterback. Cowboys, with all their injuries, decimated. And I don't want to pick on Dak Prescott, but that's the real world, folks. I've been trying to tell you this for 2 years. That's what it looks like when you don't have a running game. That's what it looks like when your running game's sporadic and you're not 2nd and 2 and 3rd and 2. Or the game is more than a touchdown down and you got to play from behind. All of a sudden you see those passes get picked off. All of a sudden those passes don't look very good. I mean, it just changes the world dramatically. They have kept him they have managed him brilliantly. I'm not trying to knock him, but they had managed him brilliantly. They did not expose him at all. The last couple of weeks, they've had no choice. And that team has scored 1 touchdown in that time. Sonny in Malvern, what's up, Sonny?
Hey, Mike. Believe it or not, before the game started, when I saw the conditions, I thought the Giants actually had a chance.
I thought the game would be close. I knew Smith was going to. Knowing Smith is not a strong thrower, I thought the game would be very close when I saw the weather. And the wind is a great equalizer, an absolutely enormous equalizer.
And look how Eli explained himself about. He knows what throws to make, what not to make. He's been through this the last 15 years. He's great in those conditions.
Plus, he has an arm that he can throw the ball in that weather. He actually can get the ball through the weather.
Yeah, and Mike, when you were reminiscing about the 2 Super Bowls, actually I thought about the 2008 season. They actually had a better team, but they were 11-1, I believe. They were flying through the season, and Plaxico shoots himself in the foot. They go 4. I think they lose the next 4 out of the next 5. But they were actually seeded number 1 that season. They wound up
that year. I tell you right now, they have felt, and I know Tom felt, had the Plaxico thing not happened, they think they would have won the Super Bowl. I mean, I know they felt they were the best team in the league then. It ruined the team that year. It did. It did. When you realize some of the stuff Eli did on the road in those playoffs, I mean, the teams he played, places he played, conditions he played under. Didn't go through the NFC playoffs on the road, didn't throw an interception in any of those games. I mean, and you go look at how he played in the fourth quarter of the game, in the great upset game. I mean, he was 9 for 14 for 152 and 2 touchdowns against the undefeated, unbeatable Pats in the fourth quarter of that game. That's winning football. Mario and Parsippany, what's up, Mario?
Hey, Mike, first off, I'm going to tell you I'm going to miss you when you're gone.
Oh, thanks. What's happening?
First, the Giants should have lost yesterday. They give the Chiefs, Andy Reid, his quarterback, throws 3 picks in the wind, and then he thinks it's a good idea to throw a ball with Kelsey, his tight end.
Yeah, listen, they both tried option passes, and they didn't work. I mean, absolutely, they did not work. I mean, Kelsey actually threw the ball. It looked prettier than any of the passes Smith threw all day, except it got picked off. Listen, I don't like the option pass. I've never been a big option pass guy. I don't mind if the option goes back to the quarterback, if it's a throwback to the quarterback. I hate when guys throw the ball. I'm not a big fan of guys throwing the ball. I really am not. They usually don't throw it well enough. I'm not a big fan of that. Never have been. I always believe, unless the guy used to be a quarterback, then it's a little different. But if he wasn't a quarterback, then I think it's very dangerous to do. And listen, that wind got into Smith's head, and I even think it got into Andy's play call a little bit. They didn't think they could make the plays down the field that they probably expected to make all week against the Giants. Bob and Summit, what's up, Bob?
If you look at Eli's career, that caller 2 calls ago was right. There was never a stretch, Mike, more than that season after the first Super Bowl. He went like 5 games where they absolutely dominated. There was a game, I remember Brandon Jacobs running over Ray Lewis made them like 8-1. I mean, that team
was
just
tremendous.
boy.
Absolutely, that ruined it. That killed them. The Plaxico thing killed them.
Mike,
Absolutely.
I gotta tell you, I went to the game yesterday, and I locked in on Flowers. This kid is turning into some little turnaround story. I mean, he had a game and a half. He's gone about 5 games now where he is really shutting down that side, Mike. I mean, Eli is getting no pressure from that side. And listen, this kid got killed at the beginning of the year, got killed last year. A lot of people are making the argument he's still young. You know what? The jury might still be out on this kid. I mean, he really had a great game.
Well, I mean, they're not a big-time defense anymore. They're really not. Their defense is just not what it used to be. But listen, yesterday the offensive line, kept the pressure off Eli fairly well, I'd say, for the most part. I think they did. It wasn't much of an offensive game overall for neither team, but I mean they did a pretty good job. Dave in Rockville Center, what's up, Dave?
Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good.
Mike, in that overtime, now don't laugh at me now, because normally I would never talk about this, but I'm thinking is there any chance if you're the Chiefs versus the Giants, you elect, because they won the coin toss, to kick to the Giants because of the wind?
You could have done that, yes. I actually thought about it. Yes. I actually thought about it.
Touchdowns,
yes.
And you force them to maybe throw the ball in the air.
I actually thought it might. It definitely yesterday, Dave. You're 100% right. The win could have been the take yesterday. It absolutely could have been. You hold the team, and then you can score. I totally agree. But here's the problem with that. His quarterback. I'm telling you what Andy was thinking. Andy was thinking. This is what I think Andy was thinking. If I get a long drive and I kick it to the Giants, at worst, I'm going to get a tie. And I think he felt, looking at his division, a tie was not going to kill him. I don't think he would have minded a tie yesterday. I think he could have been okay with a tie because of the way his division shapes out right now. No one in his division is going to win a lot of games. So being 6-3-1 would not have killed him yesterday. It really would not. And I really think that he wouldn't have been, if he got the ball back there, he would not have been aggressive with it. I think he would have played for a tie if he had to. I don't think he was crazy playing for the win. I think he would have been okay with a tie, considering where he is in that division and no one playing well. He absolutely. And I was waiting for the next question, and that was, didn't Andy put Mahomes in it because of his strong arm and see if he could throw the ball in that win? Because I just think that not playing all year, to put him in those conditions, it's not fair. But I did think about it. Bobby in Farmingdale, what's up, Bobby?
What's up, Mike? I'm the rare Chiefs fan living here in New York.
Mm-hmm.
Just got a quick question. Alex Smith has had a good year so far.
He's had a very good year. Came in yesterday, 18 touchdowns, 1 intercept before the game. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's no denying that. But, I mean, he's had a rough patch the past few games. What's your opinion? Would you start Mahomes at all this year?
I don't think he knows the offense yet. It's a very intricate offense. It's got a tremendous amount of reads in it. It's a very complex offense to learn. I don't think he's ready to read it. They say Alex Smith has been tremendous in helping Mahomes learn the offense. I don't think he's ready to run the offense yet. I really don't, Bob. Now, we all know he's going to be the quarterback next year. It's not a secret. He's going to be the quarterback next year. That's their plan. But I don't think it's something where he's anywhere near ready to run that offense this year. It's just too technical. And one thing Smith does, he uses his legs great. He uses his brain great. He just doesn't have a great throwing arm. Greg in Manhattan. What's up, Greg?
Hey, Mike. I'm no football savant, so I'll defer to you on this question. If the Giants cut Eli in the offseason because of cap reasons, whatever, rigmarole, it seems to me like more than half the teams in the league would be thrilled to have him as their quarterback. But the question is, have you ever seen a quarterback in a playoff game take the beating that he took against the 49ers and still prevail? Because that's the most remarkable thing from his career that I take.
Well, that game was unbelievable. He took an incredible beating in that game. He took one of the worst beatings I've ever seen anybody take. I agree with you. I've seen Luck take a couple of beatings in recent years that have been that as bad or worse. But in a big game, he took one of the worst beatings I ever saw and just kept coming back for more. I mean, it was unbelievable how many times he got hit. The Niners hit him flush, I mean, at least 10 times in that game. He got hit both quarterbacks got hit so much in that game. That game was a ferocious game. I mean, his body of work on the road in the playoffs has been unbelievable. I mean, they're down 14-3 in Dallas. He drives them down the field before the half to get that big touchdown. Enormous game. Beating Favre in the cold weather, beating Rodgers. Winning in San Francisco, winning in Dallas. I mean, it's been remarkable what he's done in those years. The biggest knock he got on Eli is that he didn't make the playoffs enough years. That's your biggest knock. When he's been in the playoffs, he's been terrific, except for the first year when he wasn't ready. Tony in Manhattan, what's up, Tony?
Hey, Mike. I wanted to talk to you about the Giants, but I also, I've always respected your take with politics and current events, and I know you came up in the 60s and 70s, and I'm just wondering if you have any, thoughts or a take on Charles Manson passing away today.
A take on Charles Manson?
Basically, I know, in the 60s and 70s.
I know he died. No, I know Charles Manson died. I mean,
I feel like a lot of people today,
I would just think as evil a human being as you could ever, is probably as evil and unfortunately one who could influence others because, here's a guy who, as is my understanding, never murdered anybody.
Correct.
Who served, that kind of term because he coerced those people into these, just ungodly crimes. And he was obviously able to have an enormous amount of sway over all these people, especially these young girls. And, he hypnotized them or whatever he did to them, with his hypnotic personality. He obviously had a very spellbinding personality, but he was evil incarnate. I mean, that's it. I mean, how old was he? 80-something? Was he 80-something years old? 83? Yeah. I wish the people he killed would have lived as long as he lived, unfortunately. People killed for no reason. I mean, just out of, the fact that his life wasn't going well. This, bone chilling is when you think about him, it's almost bone chilling. It really is because that's scary stuff. It was always scary stuff. Billy and Elizabeth, what's up, Billy?
Hey, Mike, what you did with Eli there at the end of the interview was great. It was fantastic. In a year, there's not much to be happy about as a Giant fan. It was good to talk about the Super Bowl.
Listen, he had the single biggest game. He was the MVP of the biggest game played in the history of the fans. Since the fans been on the air, the biggest game played, single game. I was thinking of this. The biggest moment for a team is probably the Rangers because it was so, it was so long in the waiting and the reaction from people. So, it was probably that win for a team. But for one game, this was one of the greatest upsets in sports history, this upset in this game.
Here's my question about yesterday. And a few more wins like that. And you know what? This season might be taking on the same kind of season the Jets had last year with Bowles, where if this guy wins a few more games, we might be looking at McAdoo for another year. Do you think that's possible? Because I surely hope not.
I think that listen. I think it is. I think it is possible, but I think that there would have to be a lot of life in those division games. I think they'd have to have a winning streak. I think do I think he could salvage his year? I think he could. And get another year? I think he could. But I think he would have to have a winning streak. Russ in Port Jefferson, what's up, Russ?
Russ, hey, Mike. On the throw from Manning to Kyrie, was there ever a name put on that throw? Now they name throws.
On that play, they call it the catch.
Oh, they call that the catch?
Yeah.
I wanted to call it the wing and the prayer.
Well, it was that. I mean, they came up with a lot of names, but they just basically call it the catch. But there's a lot of plays they call the catch. But I mean, what are you gonna do? I mean, I never came up with one that was that, that was that unbelievable for it, like there is for some others. But it was a remarkable play on both ends. Him getting away, and then Tyree somehow, holding on to the ball. And then, you forget the play to the tight end in that game, which was enormous. And then you have the play to Manningham, which was an incredible pass. I mean, a great route and a perfectly thrown pass. Really, that ball's thrown 55. If it's thrown a dime, it's thrown 55 yards in the air. That ball on a dime. Bobby and Mayapack, what's up, Bobby?
Hey, Mike, before I make my point, it's a shame that you got to waste your time talking about that jerk a couple of calls ago mentioned.
Listen, that's not going to take up a lot of time, so don't worry about it.
Right. Anyway, Mike, with the Giants, I'm probably one of the few Giant fans. I wanted them to win. I'll tell you why, Mike. Losing is contagious. We're going to have this team together a lot in the next couple of years. I don't want them to keep losing and losing. It doesn't guarantee that when these quarterbacks come out, you're going to be a great quarterback. So I'm one of the guys that wanted him to win. What do you think, Mike?
Listen, I have no problem with that. I really don't. You let the team build what they build. That's all. You let them build what they can build. But you know what? You can't ever get on your team for winning, no matter when they win. Now, if it's game 16 and there's a great player in the number one slot and it's one game, I can understand that one game. But other than that, I think you just try to win as much as you possibly can. That's all you're ever trying to do is win. Rick joins us. What's up, Rick? Yes, Rick.
Mike, how are you? Happy Thanksgiving to you.
You too. What's up?
Hey, listen, you know what? The only thing that win did is maybe give Spagnuolo a little bit of credence because, as far as I'm concerned, we had a chance. We have a chance this year, yes, to have a terrible season and get some solid draft picks. And to me,
again,
you know what?
They don't look at they cannot and will never look at this sport that way, Rick. They can't.
Right. But Mike, they had a 9-6 lead, and what happened? They went right down and got a field goal. It's the same thing that they've been doing all year. Even though they won the game, but there they go right down.
But they didn't score a touchdown. If they score a touchdown, they lose.
They tied the game.
Well, that's it. But they held them to a field goal, though. They're playing a better team. They held them to a field goal. There's two ways to look at that. They didn't give them a touchdown, but they held them to a field goal. So, there is two ways to look at that. Chris in Brooklyn. What's up, Chris?
Hi, Mike.
Yes, Chris.
Good to talk to you again, Mike.
What's up?
I wish you all the best, Mike. You're going to leave a big hole in New York City in this time, sir.
Thank you. What's
two
up?
things, please, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Great chat with Eli, and thank you for validating that that the Miami Dolphins are the greatest Super Bowl season team ever, and Eli Manning still has the power and still has the strength in his arm. And I'll take
I have always listen. I always voted the Dolphins the number one spot when I voted on those panels for the greatest teams ever. Okay, when I always voted, I always put the Dolphins one, not because I thought they were the best team, not because I thought they were the most talented team, because I thought they accomplished more than any other team, and that's what it's about. Because we can sit here and decide which team has more pure talent, and we might not even agree. But we can't argue which team came closer to fulfilling potential. No one ever did more than the Miami Dolphins because no one ever equaled what they did. And a sad note today, I don't know the details yet, but I do know that Terry Glenn, who was a controversial, as we all know, draft pick by Bill or by the Pats when Bill was there. We all know when he called them she, and the ironic part is he became one of Bill's favorite players and a wonderful player. Had years where he caught 95 passes for Bill. Had some wonderful years for Bill. Was a very good player. As a matter of fact, I do not know the details of him being killed in a tragic car accident. But to his family and to all of us, take a second and say a prayer for Terry Glenn on his passing here. Like I said, I don't know the details of the accident that took his life, but a terrible accident and terrible tragic news to hear that Terry Glenn was killed in a car accident. So Terry Glenn's not that old, and age wouldn't matter, but boy, he had a lot of life left. So that was a tragic news to hear that about Terry Glenn. Quick break, and then we'll get to Bob.